All right. I'm recording on Midlife Conversations right now with the gut genie, and she's back for the umpteenth time. And the reason is I don't know exactly when you're listening to this or when we're going to air it yet at the time of this recording, but right now it's a Saturday morning. I was about to go work out, and I don't know if it was a mistake or it was meant to be. I sent Laura, the gut genie, a link to the new Netflix movie, Hack Your Health, the story, what is it called? The Secrets of Your Gut. The Secrets of Your Gut. I sent it to her. I'm like, oh, I watched this really cute movie last night. I like how they explain the gut. They were doing it with stuffed animals, they were doing it with cartoons. They're speaking my language. I think they did a good job. I sent it to Laura, aka the gut genie, and she proceeded to leave me not one, not two, but like 18 fired up voice notes. so, so I said, okay, stop with the voice notes, Laura. We're going to get on a podcast right now and discuss this because this is gold. And I think people need to hear this. So welcome back for the umpteenth time. The gut
Thank
genie,
you.
Laura.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, so let me just share with our audience what happened to me this morning because of you. So I'm sitting in bed drinking my perfect cup of black coffee, gonna enjoy my Saturday morning while I get ready to prep for a conference that I'm speaking at next week. And I get this text from you that says, "Look at this documentary." And I'm like, "Well, okay, I'll open it and see what it is." Which precedes me down a wormhole of watching this thing for an hour and 15 minutes. And at first I thought, oh, this is good. They did a really good job on this. And
Mhm.
about halfway through the movie is when I started to text you angry, like angry
Yeah.
text. And so we can unpack this and talk about it. There is a lot right with this documentary. There's a
Mhm.
lot wrong with this documentary. So
So this
thank
is
you
like
for
a public
derailing.
service announcement today. This is a public service announcement because a lot of you are going to watch the movie and think it's cute like I did. So let's start with what they did right because I love, love, love that it's even being talked about now, gut health. Because as you know, with my whole journey with this was like the missing link. One of the girls that works with me, she said, I don't know what to say because you do everything right, Natalie. Like you eat right, you work out, you drink, you do all the right things, and you had a gut health problem. So what does that say for the rest of us? So I love that gut health is being talked about now more. And I love that the movie used cute little cartoons and they made it like appealing and they made the microbiome like a fun, special place we want to go on vacation to. So I
They
liked
did.
that part.
They did. So the first, like, I would say 25 or 30 minutes of the movie is really good education, easy to understand. I loved the way they
Mhm.
did it. In fact, those little like felt cartoons, I've seen those on Instagram. I actually follow
I
that
bought
account.
them on Amazon, I think. I
I
like
follow
those
that
things.
account for the little animation.
Yeah.
It's so good. But so they explain, what the gut microbiome does, why it's important, how it's connected to your brain. I loved that part. I loved how it explained if you don't feed your gut the right thing, your gut will start eating your body, right? It'll start eating the
Yeah.
mucus layer and create this leaky gut and the ability for undigested food toxins, actually they never said the word toxin once. I know
Hmm.
it allows toxins to go through, create, all kinds of inflammation, autoimmune diseases, chronic health conditions. So they did a good job of explaining your gut is important, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like most of America, I mean, obviously this is Netflix, this is geared towards it's come out, it was actually produced by a company in Ireland, I think, but it's geared
Yep.
towards Americans totally. I mean, most of the people they followed in the documentary are American. And so I think Americans in general, it's important to hear that it's important to know what we eat matters. But there's so much wrong with this because Natalie, you and I both work with middle-aged women who eat right and they
Hmm.
exercise and they do things right and they still feel like crap. And this documentary really makes people feel like, oh, I just need to eat 80 vegetables a week and I'm gonna get better.
Which
And
is
we know
not the
that's not
case.
true.
That's not the case. And
No.
I can assure you, I probably do eat 80 vegetables and I still had a problem.
Right.
Okay, let's unpack this. So let's start with I'm gonna start with the first thing you texted me because this was halfway through the movie. And you said of all the things to microdose, why are they microdosing potato chips? And I thought that was hysterical because I didn't even that did not fire me up, but it really fired you up. So let's talk about that part first.
Really fired me up. So they follow this lovely Michelin star chef from San Francisco. She is obviously capable of resourcing any food she wants on the planet, right? She works in a Michelin star restaurant.
Mhm.
She has access to all healthy things. And she also has disordered eating, which they
She
went
says
into.
she said she's recovering anorexic and that she now has orthorexia. So she's obsession with healthy eating.
Yes. And so they talk about her microbiome and what's in it. And she talks to some professors and scientists at UCSD San Diego, which is right in my backyard. It's one of the largest research centers on the planet for the gut microbiome. And so she's talking to these researchers, and they just took this one clip. I'm sure like they spent an hour with her, right? And they take this one clip where they say, you could just start microdosing potato chips until you can tolerate eating a full serving. And I'm like, what? Of all the things, why are they telling her to microdose potato chips? Because the message that's being sent to Americans watching this is that potato chips are okay. You just need to get your body used to them by pulling back and just eating 1 to 3 potato chips a day until you can tolerate a full serving. And I just thought that is such a high level of irresponsibility. And then it got me thinking, like, Laura, who's actually producing this thing? Just follow the money trail. Where did the money come in to make this documentary? And I haven't done that full research yet. I figured out one avenue. I know one of the companies that was involved in producing this. And, people can go do their own research here, but I would say just there is no way, no how that a documentary geared towards helping people heal would say microdose potato chips until you can eat a full dose. Or a full
Yeah. Okay. So number one, do not microdose potato chips. That's not going to heal you right now. So that's not the step. The other thing.
Just let me say, Natalie, do I eat potato chips? Yes, I do from time to time. I like the Boulder Canyon cooked in avocado oil potato chips. When I want a crunchy potato chip, that's the one I'm going to get. But it's not a normal part of my diet.
No, and you would never say, I'm going to microdose my potato chips. That would not be one of the things you would microdose. Let's talk about the actual tests they were doing and the problems with that.
Yeah. So partway through the documentary, they start showing people doing a microbiome test. So I looked this up, and this is basically a test of what your bacteria counts are. Now, you and I have done a lot of podcasts and a lot of master classes and taught a lot of people that there's way more to gut testing than just looking at what are the bacteria counts. Are you missing certain bacteria, or do you have overgrowth of certain bacteria? When we do a gut test from a functional medicine perspective, we know we can change your microbe colonies and your growth of bacteria within 24 hours. And they say that on the documentary. Like, we could give you a healthy meal and we can change your profile of your bacteria in 24 hours. The most important part of the gut test is actually not what bacteria are living in you, in my opinion, because we can change that in 24 hours. It's what are your digestive markers? What is your inflammation? What is going on with your immune system? What are your inflammatory markers? What are the pathogens, the pathogenic bacteria and parasites that should never be there? What's your fungus candida count? There's so much more to a gut test, and this test that they're showing doesn't offer any of that. It's literally these type of tests. I jokingly say they're like Trivial Pursuit tests. It's like interesting information to have at a dinner conversation, right? Like, I have no Provotella. That's the reason I can't lose weight. Like, no, it's so much more than that. People who can't lose weight, we may see patterns of low Provotella, but I promise you, there's a lot more to the picture than just replacing that bacteria.
Yeah. Okay. So that was another one of the 18 messages that you left me. No, the other thing that really bothered you was the eating of the poop capsules. You're like, I almost gagged. What are they doing? And what if people think that this is real and they should go do this?
I mean, people do wacky stuff. Okay. So
and for people that didn't watch this yet, like, explain what you saw.
Yeah. Okay. So there's this whole researched treatment of fecal transplant. So taking one person's poop and transplanting it into another person's body to help solve health problems. There's only one condition that this is FDA approved for, and it's for the treatment of C. difficile, a really terrible bacteria that causes chronic bacteria and just ruins people's lives. So that is the one FDA approval for fecal transplant. In the movie, they show one of the people that they follow is this graduate student, right? She's a PhD student, and she's got some major, health things going on. And so she's taking her brother's poop, putting it in a blender, mixing it up with water, and then putting it into capsules and freezing it, and then eating those. And then she does the same with her boyfriend's
That's disgusting.
poop. And I'm sitting here going, no,
you will get E. coli. You could die. This is not
parasites. You could like do
Oh,
not just go to your so here's the thing here's what I fear will happen. So two good friends, best friends, one's obese, one's skinny. Obese friend says, clearly you've got good bacteria that help you stay skinny. Can you give me some of your
can
poop?
I eat your poop?
I
Yeah.
poop because I'm desperate to lose weight because Americans will do stuff like this,
They
right?
will.
And
They
so
will.
there is so much wrong with this. Like you realize that when people do a fecal transplant, that stool is tested for all kinds of other pathogens. We got to make sure we're not introducing something dangerous and harmful. Like I would never just go to Natalie and say, you know what, you've got ripped abs and you're really good at like, I would like some of what you're having. Can I have some of your poop? Hell no. I
I
love
would
you,
say
girl,
people are
but
not
no.
this dumb, but they are. That's
They
the
are this
problem.
dumb. People are
Somebody will do
desperate. I
that.
mean, okay, so let's talk about that. So people are so desperate, and I mean, we're gonna make people mad for saying people are dumb. So let's just
We didn't say all people are dumb, but people are.
people
If
are. There
you
are
are even considering making a poop capsule from this movie, you fall into the category of maybe not so smart. I'm just saying.
or very risky, but people are so desperate to lose weight, Natalie, that they'll
It's
take,
true.
drugs that absolutely destroy their body, like Ozempic, for example, destroy your gut microbiome, all in the desperation of losing weight. And people go through risky surgeries. So people will do stuff like this. I guarantee it. And they just glossed over it like it's normal. There was
Mm.
no, they should have put like a caution, do not try this at home, not a good idea. Like, oh
Oh
my
my
gosh,
gosh,
they
that's
literally just
crazy.
showed how to do it. They literally showed the whole process. Like I could
That's
go do that in my kitchen right
that's
now.
all. Please don't.
I'm clear. I could take your poop and eat it right now.
That
I know how to do it now.
please don't do that.
I will
That is
not.
okay. So I didn't even watch I watched most of the movie and then I fell asleep and then I sent you. So I didn't even watch that part, but now that's kind of freaky. Okay. And then also the other thing you pointed out that they didn't actually have a true specimen of the people in the movie that are dealing with this stuff because like they missed the whole midlife area.
Oh, they miss so much. So they follow four people. So they follow this Michelin star chef. They follow a professional eater. Like what
Hot
is he?
dog eater.
He's a professional hot dog eater from Japan.
It's a thing.
I've seen him on Instagram
Yeah.
and stuff where he's a
He
professional
eats like 100 hot dogs in a
yeah,
sitting. Yeah.
contest eater. They follow this grad student or PhD student who was eating, her boyfriend's poop, and then they follow like a middle America single mother of three children who is struggling with obesity. Not in it, so they were all approximately in their 30s, everyone who was in this documentary.
Mhm.
Nowhere was the menopausal woman, age 50 to 65, dealing with chronic fatigue, low energy, brain fogginess, achy joints, migraine headaches, rapid aging, mobility issues, just feeling like they're collecting diagnoses. They're on a couple
Yeah.
prescriptions. They didn't follow this group of people that most of America is like the biggest population right now is in that baby boomer and the Gen X, right? And they didn't follow this group.
No.
And I feel like this was also really irresponsible of them because people are going to watch this who have chronic health conditions and feel like, oh, I can just
Mhm.
resolve this by making a smoothie with 80 vegetables. We can talk about that too. I'm pissed
Yeah,
off about the
let's
smoothie.
talk about that. And then I'm gonna talk about the vaginal delivery thing because I had a whole thing on that one. But
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, so okay, what about the smoothie with the 80
Oh
vegetables?
my gosh. Can I just complain about this movie?
Let's go.
So they do so they have this scientist who's like showing this big, map of the microbiome of this guy who's eating a smoothie every day with, I don't know, he had like 80 different he's eating 80 vegetables a week, right? And he's
Okay.
putting it all in a smoothie, so it's raw. The problem with this is if you have dysregulated, disrupted, imbalanced gut microbiome and you start eating raw vegetables like that, you are going to feel like crap.
That's
That
right.
is the last, yes, vegetables and fruits are important to get healthy strains of bacteria into the body. But if I did that to my clients, they would give me the finger and run. They'd be like,
Yeah.
your protocols don't work. You're making me feel like crap because it creates like your body can't handle all of
No.
that raw fiber to be able to digest it. You will
Especially when
block.
you haven't been doing that and working up to that's
No,
what they should have microdosed is the
no,
vegetables.
and so when I'm working with people, I'm recommending that you eat soups. Take those vegetables, put it in a soup and blend it, cook it, break it down and make it easier. Cook it. Eat slow roasted vegetables from the oven. Eat stews, braises, soups, things like that. Stay away from raw foods, and then I mean, there was just so much wrong with it. You just would
She's saying
create.
initially, by the way, she's not, she is a fan of raw food. She's
Oh
just
yeah.
saying if you're dealing with navigating these issues, like piling in 80
Yeah.
fruits and vegetables is not the solution.
And also, if you have food sensitivities where oxalates, lectins, all these things create sensitivity in you, just okay, just dump a load of that in the blender and put it in your body. You're going to feel like crap.
Oh
Oh
my
my
gosh. Yeah, this was one of her 18 messages to me, y'all. This is hysterical. Okay, so talk to me about what can go, what else did they miss from this? Like, what do people need to know? Because this is your life's work, and
God.
I've learned so much from you. But what do you want people that are hearing about this for the first time, where they're like, okay, I'm starting to understand that the gut biome is important. What do they actually need to know and do?
Yeah. So hear me. Food is important. Eating healthy is important. Eating unprocessed food is important, which they completely missed the mark when they told somebody to microdose potato chips. So they just lost me there. But eating real food is important. So hear me on this. The overwhelming majority of people that I work with and that Natalie works with eat really healthy, yet they still feel bad. So I always say, you cannot eat your way out of this. If you could, you would have already, and you wouldn't be coming to us to get support. And so what's really missing in this documentary is the underneath, what is the
Mhm.
root of the problem? Why is the microbiome dysregulated? They kind of touched on how Americans eat, right? But what they didn't touch on was the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of toxins we're exposed to every day.
Yep.
They didn't touch on the level of trauma and stress that people have in their lives, which also disrupts the microbiome. They didn't focus on, just the assault in industrialized nations on toxins on our body. So when we
Yeah.
get underneath it, there's massive inflammation going on. There's a reason for that. And unless we prep the body to release these things and do a little bit of pre work before we jump right into a big, huge gut restoring protocol, you are going to feel more sick. I would
That
say,
makes sense.
if I had to guess, if we took just 100 people and said, just do exactly what this documentary told you to do, I could estimate 80 to 90% of people would not feel any better. And I've got another like just inconsistency in this documentary to point out. You're probably going to ask me, but it has to do with they never showed anybody with a result, but I'll let you get there.
Yeah, well, I want to talk about that, but I also want to, they oversimplified a few things. Like they
Yeah.
said, which I caught. Like, so they said one of the things they talked about was being born vaginally and
Mhm.
how that you're exposed to your mother's gut biome. So C-section, you're at risk for not having that. Well, that does not mean you don't have gut problems because you were born vaginally. And I feel like that was oversimplified. I know
Oh
I
yeah.
came out that way and I still had issues because what they didn't talk about was the 30 antibiotics we've been given in 30 decades, in
Right.
30 years.
Right.
And all of those things it destroyed. They did mention antibiotics briefly, but
Or
not the
even
severity.
totally. So to your point, A, vaginal delivered babies can also have microbiome disruptions. B, they didn't talk about antibiotics, but even bigger category than that, I would say, is they didn't talk about the overuse and abuse of acid reducers. One of the worst
Mm.
things that ever happened in the United States was when they took proton pump inhibitors and made them over the counter. So now people pop them like candy for heartburn. So I'm talking
Can you
Pepsid.
explain that? What happens when you do that?
Yeah.
Because I
So
don't think
when
people
you
get that.
Right. So when you take these acid reducers over the counter and you feel like it's safe because it's over the counter, right? If it's over the counter, it's just
Right.
like carte blanche, take whatever you want and use it. When you take those, you actually shut off your own acid pumps in your body, your hydrochloric acid. That is number one line of defense against microbes that you're
Mm.
ingesting. And it also is the pre-digestion of your food before it hits the small intestine, where your body then further breaks food down and absorbs it into the bloodstream. So, by shutting off the acid pumps, you're actually making it very difficult for your body to extract the nutrients from the food. So, you could eat everything perfect. And if you had, a couple years of taking acid reducers, you maybe dysregulated or shut
Mm.
off your own ability to create hydrochloric acid. So, that's one of the things that we work on in our programs too,
Totally.
is to help build that back. And so the digestive
Yeah.
enzymes, the hydrochloric acid, this bile support from the liver. I mean, there's so
Mm.
much that needs to happen here. But they really missed the mark on talking about all the things. Like even you guys, even just the overuse of hypertension and cholesterol medications, when a lot of times people could solve this with lifestyle changes, and instead they're getting on drugs to solve the
Yeah.
problem. And these drugs create nutrient deficiencies and dysregulate the microbiome as well. So there's just so much missing in this
There's
documentary.
so many things
Yeah.
missing from that. And then they didn't talk about the solution, like the results there.
No. Okay. So I noticed this. Like, so here I am. You're like, Laura, we need to get on and talk about this. And I'm sitting here. I'm like, okay, but Natalie,
Well,
I'm sitting.
because the 18 voice notes was making up a whole podcast, and I was like, I don't know how to put this on the air.
Yeah.
So I was
So
like,
I'm sitting here.
move
So
this
Natalie
here.
goes, well, go get dressed. And so as I'm getting dressed and I'm putting on my makeup, okay, I got to get film ready here. So I'm putting on makeup and I'm sitting here like doing my eye makeup and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I just thought of one more thing that this documentary missed. They never, ever showed any of the people they followed. None of them had a win. None of them had a resolution.
Wow.
And I'm willing to bet it's because none of them did. So
Wow.
the one thing that they gave a nod to, they showed the woman with the disordered eating, the Michelin star chef. They showed her sitting down at the end eating a plate of pasta of all things with her husband and saying, I'm hopeful that I can eat a plate of pasta without having to starve myself the next day. She didn't say, I'm now able to eat regular food and not have problems the next day. The obese woman, she never had a story of losing a single pound. I promise you, if she had had a success like that, they
They would
would
have
have put it.
highlighted.
They would have put
Yeah.
it in the documentary. The woman who was eating her boyfriend and her brother's poop, she never had a win
No, but
to.
now she's going to get E. coli or something else
Yeah,
going on.
yeah, and the overeater. So then they followed the Japanese content
The hot
eating
dog guy.
hot
Yeah.
dog guy. His problem was that he had dysregulated satiety. His brain didn't tell him when he was hungry or when he was full, and he also had no normal cravings. It's like food just didn't matter to him
Yeah.
anymore. And so he decided from the documentary that he was going to stop that profession, which is probably healthy for him in the long run, improving his lifespan by quitting being a hot dog contest eater. But what they never did was say, we circled back with him and he now has normal cravings and he feels satiety. Like nobody had a win in the entire documentary. I mean, this cannot be ignored, Natalie.
No,
Okay, so
it's huge.
what happens when people go through my programs? They win right and
They
left.
all win.
All the things
Yeah.
get better because we're not just focusing on we're going to eat your way out of this. Because I'm sorry, and I take bullets for this, right? Like people shoot arrows at me all the time. Like, I can't believe you're standing up there saying the food isn't important. That's not what I'm saying. I'm
No.
saying good luck eating your way out of this because there's way more to this.
No, just real stories. I just talk about me and my husband here. My diet is pretty darn close to perfect. I mean, I'm certainly not
Yeah.
perfect at it, but it's pretty darn close to perfect. It has been for years. And when I started having my challenges, I buttoned it up even more. It was like I went crazy on everything. And my gut was still a wreck. It was a wreck until I started like understanding this and like really taking on your protocols. So much so, y'all, that I stopped selling my programs while I was doing this for myself. And then I revised my programs after, including what Laura teaches, adding her in as an expert, because this is like so critical. And then you take my husband, who does not eat perfect at all. I mean, he's still to this day, Laura, he'll have a Skippy peanut butter and jelly sandwich for lunch. He will eat potato chips. He will drink Diet Coke. He has Cheerios for breakfast every morning. My husband is ripped with a freaking six pack, and we can't make him not healthy. It's like he's just one of those anomalies that has this great health. He could sell his poop. He could be one of those people that sells his poop.
And I have my theories about him. So in our genetic profile, some people have very strong gut genetics and they have very strong detox genetics. And I have a feeling if we ran a DNA test
That would be
on
him.
Brooks, he would have very healthy detox and gut pathways
Makes sense.
genetically, which gives it's like the same age-old story. We've all had a friend who like abuses her body, eats like crap, and
That's
she's
right.
just like this tiny little skinny thing that never has to worry
Right.
what she eats. They they exist, right?
That exists.
Unicorns exist. Most of us
That's not
have
the
to
case.
be a little more
But
conscious.
here's the thing. Like I was talking with a girl on my team this morning and she said, she mentioned, she's like, Natalie, you are like this epitome of health. If you had problems, then I feel like, how can any of us fix it? And I said, well, hold on. I could probably say in my 52 years on this planet, I probably had 30 courses of antibiotics at least over the years as a kid, as all the things that's destroying your gut. I also had breast implants, which were ruptured and leaking. I also lived in black mold. I also had amalgam fillings. Like there's so much toxic load that comes in that helps disrupt it. I definitely have not led a stress-free life. So there's a lot of things that go. So this is important for everyone. So what I liked about the film is it brought awareness. It brought awareness that this is something. What I I dislike, and I unfortunately dislike about a lot of the shows on that network in general, is they get very biased towards one thing for an agenda. So like what we always say is follow the money. Like, where is this? Who
Mhm.
was funding this film?
Exactly, exactly. I mean, there's people in this film who are doing good work. Don't get me wrong. They've got researchers from UCSD here. They've got some of the
Mhm.
top scientists, exploring the gut microbiome. But I will tell you this: those researchers, they don't deal with real patients. They get
Mm,
samples of poop from all over the place, and they look and study what's happening in this poop. They are not in the trenches with the midlife woman who says, sobbing, I've tried everything and things are
totally.
getting worse. What do I do? They have no idea how to build a protocol to help people win. They're just research. They literally live in a lab researching gut bugs, but they don't know how to help people.
Yeah.
That takes a whole different strategy. So this is really important. I mean, for what it's worth, it's going to help open the eyes, and if anybody starts eating better in America who who
Mhm.
who eats all processed food. I mean, just the scene about the single mother cooking with her children, and the child says, "Mom, is this where corn comes from? Is this what real corn
Yeah,
looks like?" They'd never seen it before because they only ate it out of a bag. And so, I mean, that was just, my heart just ached
totally.
for this family. Like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. This family is going to be healthier because they're learning about food. Yes, there are people in this country that need that level of baby steps. The majority of people that we know need
Yeah.
something way more than
Well,
that.
I do like that they put this out there for the reason of just getting it more mainstream attention about gut health, because there's still people that think that's pseudoscience. They're like, oh, gut health is pseudoscience. So I like that part of it.
Yeah.
I don't like how they wrapped it up. They could have done a better job with this. It could have been more responsible there. I wanted to get you on because you were so fired up about this. I was like, we got to get Laura
Still
out
am.
there.
I have not simmered down. Like I'm
Yeah,
hot about
I
this.
know. So those of you who have listened to me and Laura before, there's many times we've done live master classes where we go deeper, especially about parasites. That's like a whole nother topic that we've gone deep on. At the time of this right now, we do not have a master class lined up, but if you do want to learn more about what Laura tests for, what her team does, what they help with, you can go to midlifeconversations.com/gut. I'll always forward that to something that she's got going on, or if we have a joint class going on, midlifeconversations.com/gut. But whether you do that or not, what do you want people to know? Like, what do you want them to walk away with? What's
Yeah.
important for them to understand and know and do?
I think well, first off, I would say anything you're watching on mainstream TV, and Netflix is mainstream TV, everyone. I would always take it with a grain of salt. Say there's something here to learn and there's a lot here to be aware of. So always, unless it's a privately, produced documentary that you can't see on mainstream TV, there's going to be lacking. I mean, they do a good job of drawing you in with scientists and researchers, right?
Sure.
First thing I would say is beware anything you're seeing out there in mainstream. The second thing I would say is if you've been struggling with low energy, brain fog, with joint pain, with migraines, with rapid aging, with skin issues, with autoimmune conditions,
Mhm.
any of this, then I would highly recommend that you find a real functional practitioner somewhere to really support you. And actually, if you're thinking of running gut tests, actually, if you're going to do something like that, make sure you're doing one
Mhm.
that actually shows what are your inflammatory markers, what are your immune markers, what are your digestive markers, what's going on with parasites and fungus. It's not going to help you just to know the mix of bacteria in your
Yes,
gut, because like I said, you can change that mix with 24 hours of eating healthy.
totally.
So
Yeah. So
yeah,
so
so I
so
think that's the
take
message. Another message I want to say is of hope, right? Like we see all the time just massive transformations in the people that Natalie and I have supported and work with in our communities. And so I always say, like, there is a way out of this. There 100%
Mhm.
is. Your body is intelligent. It can heal. We just got to figure out what buttons and levers to push. So test, don't guess,
That's
right? Like
right.
figure out what is it about you that we need to support. I mean, just go back and listen to all the podcasts Natalie and I have done about this because
We've had it.
we've
We've
like
done an
journeyed.
umpteen million of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, there's a lot there. But I think those would be my messages.
Yeah.
A message of beware, a message of hope, and a message of get support.
Yes. And if you want Laura's support directly, she's got a fantastic team. I can't recommend her enough. I'll link that up in the show notes, midlifeconversations.com/gut. But whether you go work with her or not, take what she said. We also have so many podcasts we've done on this topic. If you go back through, I don't even know how many we've done. We've done
This
like
is our
probably,
fifth,
oh,
I
it's our
think.
fifth. Okay. So we've done at least
Fifth or
that.
sixth.
And some classes that you can find. So you can go deeper there. But thank you, Laura, for jumping on a Saturday and recording this with me. And you look great. So
Well,
thank
thank
you.
you. I was literally watching this documentary an hour and a half
Oh,
ago.
I know. I'll save all your voice messages. They're hysterical. Thank
Okay,
you,
bye.
Laura.